Can you hear me? You can't hear me. Okay. Stay. Okay, cool. Okay, so whoever can hear the live stream right now, we're having technical difficulties, but give me just a second. I haven't done a live stream like this in a minute. Okay, so let me see. Okay, cool. You too, Nosy. Hey, CJ, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming on with our technical difficulties. Let me see if I can close this software that I use to actually like stream this, or if I can actually show you my screen, which is what I'm trying to do. So if we do this OBS software, which is Naveen. Okay, cool. Let me stay right there because I want to make sure that's what you get to see. Okay, can you see this? Is it full screen now? I think it's delayed. Ugh. I'm probably like the worst at this. Yeah, that's probably a great idea. How about that? Okay, cool. Yay! I'm so excited, and I don't even know why we're showing you this right now, because you're getting to see all of my stuff before we even get through it. Yay, that's how professional I am about my live stream. So let me just make sure before we dive into this that everyone can hear me, and I'll hop on here real quick because I think I might have this down now. Okay. Yay! Okie dokie. So we have Invington who is helping. If you hear me say Naveen or Invington, he's here in the his but actually the RV, helping us out. So welcome to the RVersity live stream. This was a little bit crazy with everything that's gone on with coronavirus and all that's gone down that's happened over Labor Day, and just so much going on. So I'm so glad that we're finally here. But Invington, can you hear me good on there? And let me see if I can hop in the chat real quick to see. Oop, that's my Facebook, everybody. Just kidding. That's the his A. Okay, let me see. Okay, cool. Paula's here. Foodie Bear's here. Yay, yay. Hey, Clifford. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so we're going to do Q&A at the end of this. But for now, I really wanted to hop on and go through kind of my RV life formula and really just dive into kind of how I got started RVing and how I started making money on the road and some of the ways that I make money on the road, and then hopefully answer some of your questions at the end of this, because I know there's so many and sometimes I can't really do everything in a YouTube video. For most of the people that watch me know that I make a lot of YouTube videos, so I'm just really kind of a natural on camera and I love to talk to people and kind of get their response. But the worst thing about YouTube is I make a video and I put it out and I don't actually get to talk to you. So right now I actually get to talk to you live, which is what's fun. So, like I said, hey Nicole, I'm so glad you're here. But I'm going to hop on here and get started, and then I'm going to leave some time here at the end so we can chat if you have any questions or whatnot. So let's dive into this masterclass. And let me make sure that my screen... Okay. How are we on the screen? And Invington, if you could just let me know if there's any like crazy comments or if they can't hear me or something's going on that way. That's fine. Okay, so Invington's going to move rooms, and then that way if anybody asks any questions, I can't necessarily see your comments while I'm chatting, but he can let me know, and I'm going to hop into the chat when this is over. But I'm so excited you're here. This is my RV Living Money Masterclass, and it is here for you to multiply your income and mobilize your life. And it's hosted by yours truly, which is Blogging Brandy, myself. Yay! Okay, so the strategy for today is that I want to address your fears about RV life and determine your RV lifestyle goals. Also want to talk about creating an RV budget and calculating the cost of your RV lifestyle, and then identify the funds that you're going to need by discovering ways to save money as well as generate income to fund your mobile life. And then also what else comes along with RV living is mobilizing your life by going digital and taking actionable steps to make your life mobile. And then I want to talk about downsizing your things, adopting a minimalistic mindset, and then choosing the right RV. So determining which RV is right for your lifestyle and budget. And then, of course, I want to talk about the RV buying process and actually buying an RV, because that's where you ultimately want to end up. So this is value packed, and I would suggest you turn off all distractions. So I tried to make sure that I put my phone on vibrate and not be distracted by it, and hopefully you're going to do the same. So most RVers don't do enough research and planning up front before diving into the RV life. They end up buying the wrong RV, wasting time and tons of money dealing with all the issues that come along with RVing they didn't expect, and then they end up running out of money, hating their RV, or even quitting RV life altogether. So pro RVers have the research they need before buying their RV and starting a life on wheels. They have planned and prepared for any type of pandemic that could happen on the road, and they have a predictable stream of revenue and get to experience the true freedom RV life is about without stressing over all of the what ifs. Now, settle in and stick around if you know RV life is calling your name, but you're scared about all the what ifs. You're ready to get started RVing, but you're not sure which RV is right for your lifestyle and budget. You know you can live in an RV at a reasonable budget and just need help calculating the cost of RV living expenses. You want to learn ways you can save money now and later to fund your RV lifestyle. You need help generating mobile income streams or finding a remote working job. You want to downsize your things and become a digital nomad, or you want to understand the RV buying process and how to purchase your first RV without getting ripped off. Now, it might be a good idea to leave the Masterclass now if you love the idea of living in an RV, but you think RV life is too expensive and you'll never be able to afford it. You're an information junkie but don't take action. You're not serious about full-time RV life. You think you have to have the next 50 years of your life planned out and saved up for before you can actually start enjoying it. You think YouTube will teach you everything you need to know about RV life. You'll be happy sitting in the same place you are in your life 1 year from now, 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. And also, you get mad when I give you 45 minutes of the strategy that has helped me generate multiple streams of income and live the RV life most people could only dream of, then complain when I make you an offer for an exclusive opportunity to work with me. Stay tuned until the end for Q&A. Before we dive into tactics, here's a little history on what qualifies me to deliver this life-changing information. So who am I and what makes me qualified to teach this? If we haven't officially met, I'm Bloggin' Brandy. That is not my birth given name, but that was a name given to me after I started being online, and it's just kind of something that stuck. Now, when I grew up, I wanted to be a cosmetologist, so yes, I am a licensed master cosmetologist in the state of Georgia. So that means I can cut hair and do makeup and give certain types of massages like facials, pedicures, manicures, all of that fun, pretty stuff. That's what I wanted to do. But my dad wanted me to go to college, so while I was cutting hair, I acquired my bachelor's degree in finance, and I also was required to get a few more licenses to actually work in the financial industry, which was my Series 7, a Series 66, my insurance licenses, and some other variable products licenses to sell things like annuities and advise people on how to invest their money, both individual and institutional investors. So I've worked in accounting and finance for over 10 years, and like I said, both with individual and institutional investors. So I actually went from helping people who had like thousands of dollars to millions of dollars in their bank account individually, one-on-one, talking to them and helping them kind of figure out their life goals, dreams, plan for that. And then I went over to the institutional side and started doing institutional investments for major corporations. So I literally went from trading millions of dollars on the stock market floor to trading billions of dollars with the push of a button. So I had the fancy job title. I had the high-rise condo. I had the luxury car, money, a 401k, paid vacations, sick leave, all the perks and benefits that your heart could desire. Then one day, I watched a webinar I found online, kind of like the one that you're watching right now, and decided to start my own business. So my first business was a vape pen e-liquid. It was a bad idea. I didn't even smoke. I didn't know my audience. I had no idea what I was selling. It ended up being regulated by the government, and you couldn't run ads on the products at all. So it was a big, big fail. But it taught me a lot about selling, especially online. So my second idea was to start a reselling business, and I started selling other people's products. So I was buying low and selling high. And would you believe it took off like a rocket? So this allowed me to quit my six-figure job. Yes, I said my six-figure job, sell my condo and my car, pretty much everything I own, and buy an RV. So this is my actual resignation letter. I worked for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. It almost makes me cry like talking about it because I'm like so proud of myself for this. But February 18th, this was over 5 years ago, y'all. To whom it may concern, please accept this as a notification. I'm resigning from my position with Bank of America Merrill Lynch. I apologize for not being able to give 2 weeks notice. However, I regret that due to circumstances beyond my control, I need to resign immediately. Please forward my paycheck. Please forward my last paycheck to my home address. Thank you for the support that you provided me during my tenure with the company. And that is my real name. So if you've never known my real name, that's it. My name is Brandy Stevens, but I go by Bloggin' Brandy. And I've actually kind of been scared to tell anybody where I worked or who I worked for. So this is like your first time. I think I've only announced this to maybe my email list and my closest family and friends. So if you're on this webinar right now, you actually get to know that I used to work for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And I made a lot of money, had an amazing job, and I hated it. So, there's a lot of things that come with money, but this allowed me to sell my car, pretty much everything I own, having this job and doing this other thing with reselling. So I bought this RV, and my first RV was actually a travel trailer. Now, however, once I hit the road, I learned a lot about being mobile and creating mobile streams of income. So I've also dabbled around in other things, such as I've written a book, I've developed a mobile app. I've taught online courses. I've freelanced my skills individually and my services. I've created customer merchandise and so much more. Now, my first RV, of course, like I mentioned, was a travel trailer. It was involved in a horrible accident. So if you don't want to buy an RV, ended up in an accident, you make sure you do your research first, kind of like attending the webinar that you're in. My second RV was a van, which turned out to be a lemon. So I actually did a collateral swap for a newer model. Yes, I had two of the same vans. Most people don't know that. I had a 2016 and a 2018. And then my third RV was, and still is, my Class A motorhome, which I've had for over a year now. So I've bought RVs new and used, both towable and motorized units. I've dealt with RV insurance claims, lemon laws, warranty issues, and even a stolen trailer. Yes, someone stole my trailer off of my RV that I used to tow my smart car with. I've RV'd through hurricanes, snow, wind, rain, ice, and almost any other kind of inclement weather. And I've traveled thousands of miles and hundreds of places in the past 5 years. Right now, I actually live in an RV park, which is where we're broadcasting from in my RV when I'm not traveling. So I started from zero. I had a house full of stuff, a stationary sticks and bricks life. I had never RV'd before. I had no idea how to run a business or generate income remotely. I knew nothing about living in an RV, which is why I'm so freaking passionate about sharing the tactics that truly changed my life. The tactics that allowed me to quit my six-figure job and live a life on wheels when I was only 30 years old, way before retirement age. So yeah, that tells you if I quit my job 5 years ago and I was only 30 years old when I got my RV, kind of gives you an idea of how old I am. Holla! So this took me from zero to... So I want you to just kind of like take a look at this picture. I kind of wonder if people pick up on this. But if you look, when I did some selling, one of the things I did mention was reselling. So this is how you can actually go from making $0, where it says $0 in the previous 30 days, $0 in the last year, to actually generating almost $1,000 in just 30 days. And this was actually like in a week. But multiple streams of income is what I'm talking about. Okay, so this just gives you an idea. This is talking about different fulfillment channels, and I know these are just kind of screenshots, but I want you to kind of zero in. One is talking about Amazon seller and fulfillment. So I talk about reselling. Yes, you can sell things on Amazon and on eBay and online stores, but you can also sell things yourself over the phone or on your own website or other platforms. So you can see that product sales on Amazon, where I was showing you before, it goes from $1,000 in a week or 30 days to $5,000. Or if you just look at like this year, you could be generating $135,000. So multiple streams of income is key to living your dream RV life and working on the road. Now, this has allowed me to work from anywhere in my RV. I've worked in almost every location you could think of. The beach, the snow, the rain, the ice, on the side of the road, and at the lake, sitting at my lovely picnic table, which is where we're at now. Now, if you're ready to do the same, give me a ready in the chat. By having this blueprint at your fingertips, imagine where you could be in 1 year from now. So consider this your fast pass. So before we dive into this, let me hop into the chat real quick and just see if we got some readies in the chat over here. ready. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm so excited for everybody that's here right now. And if you're going to be watching the replay, make sure to type replay in the chat box, because there's going to be tons of people that can't necessarily join at this time, but you're going to be watching it later. So hit replay, hit ready, let me know that you're on here. Now, let me dive back on to my screen. And I know I'm probably like technically challenged. See, everybody can make money from their RV even if you're technically challenged. That's me right here, so I'm technically challenged, but we're going to dive back into this. So I'm really here, y'all. I'm really here live talking to you. But I just think this is great. I'm so glad that I've done live streams before and I have the software set up to do it so I can actually hop on here and do this. Because if I hadn't, this would be crazy. But, yeah, I'm here. I'm so excited. We're going to do some Q&A here at the end of this. But ready, ready, ready. Let's get into this. We're going to dive into this training. I am so excited. Let me just hop back on here and make sure that you can see the right screen. Okay, Invington, is the screen back up? Oh, I hope it's back up. Let me make sure, y'all. Okay, y'all. I had to make sure the screen's back up. And we don't want the echo. Okay, so my goal today is to get you on the road to RV living the fastest route possible. And there's no pun intended, but maybe there is on that route part. So what's your biggest fear about full-time RV life? I put this question out on social media, and I said, what is your biggest fear about getting started with full-time RV life? So what do you think the biggest thing that most people said? You wouldn't believe it. Actually, you might. The number one fear is money. So I literally put this up overnight, and the next day I think there was like 164 comments, but an hour in I had 64 comments, and the questions all say, money and quitting a job, finding a remote job, healthcare, if an emergency arises and not being able to get family, easy access, and be back home. So I've done all of these things. But I actually wrote this list down, and don't mind my chicken scratch or the fact that you may not be able to read this, because this is real life and what I wrote down. I really love writing things. But I wrote this little chart, and you can see how much the money, the income stability, financial security, how to deal with finding, my dog's in here, y'all. My little dog that I just fostered and adopted. That's the Ching that you're hearing. Money, income stream, financial security, how to earn money, find a remote job, and then there's all this other stuff. So like some of the things people mentioned was the healthcare emergency, weather, too much spare time, having privacy either from the spouse or kids, breaking down, downsizing, minimalizing. And then there were some people that were already RVing that commented on this, so I just made note of that. People are worried about driving and towing, choosing the wrong RV, healthcare, insurance, pets. So many different things that people worry about. Like I said, that's my chicken scratch. But believe it or not, money is the number one thing. So here are the steps you need to they look blank because I haven't told you the steps, but here are the steps you need to take to make your full-time RV living dream possible. So there's 7 steps in my formula that you need to take. So the first step is to set RV lifestyle goals. Determine your dream RV lifestyle. Now, what does your ideal RV life look like? How many people will be RVing with you? Do you have pets or children? Will you be hooking up or boondocking? Now, in case you don't know what that is, which you may not, hooking up versus boondocking. So hooking up means you're either using connections for water, electric, sewer, etc., like at an RV park or campground. So you're actually hooked up using someone else's connections, getting outside sources of water, electric, sewer. Now, if you're boondocking, you might also know this as dry camping, which means you're camping without hookups. You're self-contained and you must live off the resources that you've brought with you in your RV. So sleeping in a parking lot in your RV would be a great example of boondocking, and I've done this as well. Now, I prefer to be hooked up, but I've boondocked, and it depends on the RV that you're in whether you actually want to boondock or can boondock. Now, step 2 of living your dream RV life and actually getting there to full-time RV life is to create an RV budget. You want to calculate the cost to live your RV lifestyle. So, RV living expenses. Think about things that you're going to have to pay in the RV. Not just the RV payment and taxes and fees that you are going to need to actually acquire the RV itself, whether you're paying for it all in one or making payments on it, financing it. You also are going to need RV insurance. You're going to need fuel, gas, diesel to move around, or it might be to use for like your generator, your propane tank, or your generator, but propane might also run your generator. So I kind of broke these up, but I'll go through these here in a second. So fuel, gas, diesel, propane, and fuel can be to move around or also to fuel the RV for like hot water or taking a shower, things like that. That's what you might need your propane for. And then water, electric, sewer are things that you're going to have to consider when it comes to RV life. Cable, Wi-Fi, you're going to need that, especially if you want to work from the road or maybe if you want to watch TV. Service and maintenance, and then other. So just to kind of go through maybe what these numbers mean on here, I'm going to explain these and then I'm going to give you an example of like my RV living expenses. So I actually did a video on this on YouTube that dives into this a lot more, but RV living cost, my RV payment has been, or yours could be, let me say it that way, anywhere from $200 to $1,000 a month. So when I bought my travel trailer, I was paying in the $200 price range monthly for my travel trailer. And then whenever I got my motorhome that I'm in now, I'm paying like in the $1,000 price range for my motorhome. And that's just for the actual RV payment. Now, if you buy your RV outright with cash, then you probably aren't going to have RV payment. But then you have to think about other costs. So, like I said, when you buy it, you might have taxes and fees and other things. The first year of your RVing, initially getting set up, is always going to be the most expensive because it's kind of like buying a new house. You have to get situated and buy all the little things to really get set up. Too much for this video, but insurance is the other thing that you will have to consider. Now, between my travel trailer, my van, and my motorhome, I really have never had to pay over $100 for insurance, so I would estimate this, whether, and I'm being honest about this, I've called on this, whether it be part-time or full-time. It obviously depends on like your driving record and where you're going to be RVing and how many people you're insuring and the value of the RV and other things like that. But insurance has been around $75 to $80 on most of my RVs. Fuel, gas, diesel, it depends what you're filling up. I will say to tow costs a lot of money or a lot more money. I've broken down my gas expenses in a lot more detail, but for the simplicity of time, to fill up my RV right now, this RV would probably be around $200, maybe $250. But like to fill up my van and travel, it was probably around $80. So I would say, you know, you have to times that by however long you're going to go on, say, a trip. Or when you're talking about fuel, which is gas, diesel, that could be to run your generator. So like my generator in my motorhome runs off of the gas that I actually put in the fuel tank to motorize the RV. So I might have to use that fuel to actually get electricity in the RV. Like, say I want to use my microwave or turn the air conditioner on. But that's only if I'm not plugged up. If I'm plugged up, I maybe won't need the fuel, so the gas and diesel. Same thing with the propane. If I'm plugged up, and this depends on your RV. Different RVs that I've had are different. So like the van that I had was different on how it operated. Like the refrigerator in this RV is electric. The refrigerator in my other RV was propane. So it just depends how your RV operates, but these are just costs that you need to consider. Every RV has fuel costs. It's either gas or diesel, depending on if you have a trailer, but motorized units especially, you're going to have gas, diesel, or if you have a generator, it's got to operate off gas, diesel, or propane. My generator on one of my vans was a propane generator, so it didn't matter whether I put diesel in the van. The van was diesel, but the propane was, the generator was propane, so it didn't operate off the same tank. So I know that might be a little over your head, but just know that an RV will probably need the same things to move just like a car moves. And then you have LP propane is like, think about gas that you would grill with. It's propane that you would use to heat the hot water in the RV, or it could be used, like I said, for a generator or to heat the RV itself. I would say you probably use the propane maybe more in the wintertime. And then it would probably cost me about $60 to fill up my propane. And honestly, I'm not kidding. I really have never filled up my propane that much. I probably have filled it up once or twice in all of my RVs because I really don't use it that much. But it depends how much you're traveling and if you're plugged up. If you're plugged up and you don't need those things in it, you're not going to need it as much. So WES means water, electric, sewer. That's a really common term in RVing if you don't know that. So this could be $30 a night in an RV park to $400 a month at an RV park or more. So at the RV park that I'm at, it costs about, I want to say, $14 a day or $400 a month, plus or minus some electricity cost. So in the summer, it's going to cost more for me. Cable and Wi-Fi. The RV park that you're at might have cable and Wi-Fi, or in your RV, you might have to get cable and Wi-Fi. So you might pay for cable, or you might use your antenna, and then Wi-Fi, you might tether from your phone, or, you know, if you're not hooked up at the RV park. And I'm going to go through my living expenses here in a minute. So this is kind of like my cost, but let me break this down a little bit more. Maintenance, that could be anywhere from servicing your RV, having to take it in for service for like an oil change, or something even more major like your air conditioner goes out, or your tire blows out, or it could be something super small, like maybe you just need to change the air filters in your air conditioning units to help keep it running really efficient and keep it clean and not have to go in and have your air conditioner replaced. And then there's other expenses. So this could be your own meals and entertainment, memberships. This could be your credit card bills. I don't know what other living costs you have, so you have to think about that. So my RV living budget, this is honestly kind of like what I pay right now, or at least a couple months ago when I started living at the RV park that I'm at. So my RV living cost, my RV payment is actually $1,022.77 a month, and that's my payment. My insurance cost me about $80, and that is for part-time insurance, but I called about full-time insurance, and it's actually only about $10 to $20 more, so it's still less than $100 for me to get full-time insurance in this RV. But full-time insurance kind of depends on the company that you're with and what they deem as full-time insurance. Some of them will and won't insure full-time insurance, and some of them deem what you're doing is not full-time, so it depends. Fuel. I'm not moving anywhere right now since I'm plugged up at the RV park, so I'm not paying anything for gas and diesel. Like I mentioned, I am using electricity to heat my hot water, and my stove is electric, so I don't need propane right now, and I have the AC on, so I don't need propane to heat the RV. So I'm not spending any money moving the RV because I'm not moving it, and I'm not spending money on propane because I'm not using it for anything. And then water, electric, sewer. So a couple months ago, I was paying around $400 a month for my actual living costs here at the RV park. That's my monthly payment, like you would pay to, you know, rent an apartment. And then my utility payment is actually $40, was $40 a month. So that was back in, I want to say March or April when I did this spreadsheet. But the only cost that really has changed is the $40 is now like $125, and that's about as expensive as it has been with the heat in having to cool the AC or the RV with the AC. So that's what's taking up a lot of my electricity. And then cable and Wi-Fi has been around $60. I don't have cable. I don't use cable. If I need to do something, I tether from my phone or I have a hotspot device, and this costs me about $60 a month for my phone, and then plus with the hotspot, it's probably about another $40, so it's about $100 total. And then maintenance, I haven't really spent anything on maintenance lately. I did buy 2 air conditioner filter replacements, so that cost me $24, and then I think I spent like $50 on maybe groceries or an RV membership this past month. And thankfully, I'm down the street from my mom and grandma here in Alabama, so they cover a lot of my meals and entertainment if I need to go over there and eat, or they like to cook me food, so I try to be nice and eat their food, especially when I'm not traveling and I can do that. So I do have a smart car, and I just thought I'd throw that in here. It's something that I calculated about my actual RV living expenses. So my smart car actually goes in the back of my RV, for those of y'all that don't know that. And cost me about $140 a month. And then I also have my insurance. Believe it or not, the insurance on my smart car is the same as the cost on my actual RV. So I pay about $80 for the insurance on my smart car, and then I think I have like $25 written there for maybe like gas, but my smart car really uses like no gas. So maybe like another $200, $250 for my smart car. But total without the smart car, I probably spend about $1,700 a month not moving, staying stationary in my RV. And with the smart car, I use about $2,000. But keep in mind that if I wasn't paying the monthly rent here for the RV payment, lot rent for water, electric, sewer, then I would be actually using that money for fuel, gas, propane, diesel, you know, to actually move the RV around. So keep in mind how those would offset each other if you're moving around. You wouldn't have double necessarily, unless you were paying just to like keep a spot or have a storage spot. So let's talk about breaking down the cost of RVing. Now, don't think of your RVing budget as a big, huge number. I want you to break down your expenses into yearly, monthly, and daily amounts that are more realistic to achieve. So when you're thinking of yearly, of course that's a big number, but if you think of yearly and divide it up to monthly, that's less, and then daily is obviously going to be even less. So let's think about this. So when you think about this in terms of RV price differences monthly, my travel trailer cost me about $200 a month. My Class B van cost me about $700 a month, and then my Class A motorhome cost me about $1,000 a month. Now, if you break this down into daily, then you can think of this a lot easier. So your travel trailer might only cost you $7 a day, or your Class B van might only cost you $23 a day. Or, like my motorhome, it might only cost you $33 a day. Now, if you think about it like that, it's a lot more manageable when you're thinking about how much money you need to make every day versus every month or every year to be able to live in your RV. So I'm a big believer in not planning out like 50 years of your life and thinking, okay, one day when I get to RVing, I need all this money sitting in the bank to be able to do it. Think about it in terms of this. If you just have $7 a day for the next year, you could have a travel trailer, or $23 a day, you could have a van, or $33, you could have a motorhome. So that's the whole RV budget scenario that I want you to think about. Now, let's talk about finding the funds, discovering ways to save money and generate enough income to fund your mobile life. So, finding the funds for your RV life. Now, what money will you make in make in during, so I messed that up. What money will you make in during the downsizing process and transition process into RV life? What can or will you sell to fund your RV or an RVing lifestyle? What will you sell? Your house, your car, belongings? When I sold my house, I had a profit on it, so it helped me fund my RV lifestyle or put a down payment on my RV and actually buy things that I was going to need for my RV, as well as when I was selling some of my other belongings. So, like my car, I didn't have an upside in it at the time that I had bought, but my other things I did. So, think about what you're going to have an upside in and what you won't have an upside in, and where you're going to make some money in the downsizing process. So, if you're going to RV a year from now, or 5 months from now, or however long you're planning on RVing, if you start downsizing, you can start making money now to fund your RV living expenses. So what could you cut out of your current living expenses to start saving money for your RV life? So what is it that you wouldn't need in your RV life? You know, I'm a big believer in things like subscriptions and memberships. So if you have like SiriusXM or Netflix, things like that, like I don't pay for those things, but you know, maybe you do. But those are things that maybe you could think like, oh, it's not a necessity, I don't necessarily need it, so maybe I could cut it out of my life. So think about how I was saying $7 a day for a travel trailer, or if it was $7 a month for one of your subscriptions, that could actually fund your RV life. So what will you not need to pay for once you get started RVing that you're currently paying for now? Is there something that you pay for, maybe like an HOA fee or some type of fee along those lines, that you're not going to have in an RV? Why would you have an HOA fee in an RV? You know, you may or may not have an electric bill. It depends if you're plugged up. You may or may not have a water bill. You may or may not have a cable bill. It depends how you design your ideal RV lifestyle. And then another thing to think about is, how can you start downsizing your debt? Is there anything you can pay off or pay down on? Credit cards, maybe save on interest with a 0% offer, or transfer balances to lower interest credit cards. I know there's a lot of people that are big believers in like, oh, I want to pay off all my debt before I can start RVing. Or, you know, you just have that mindset of you can't do something until you finish something else. And I really hate it that some people feel that they can't start RVing because they have a credit card or they have some credit card debt. That's just something that you should build into your RV lifestyle. You know, I would make sure that you're making obviously the minimum payments, but there might be a credit card with 0 interest, or one that you have lower interest rate on that you could transfer balances to and save on money in the meantime. So these are just some things that you could think about to consider when you're downsizing and trying to find the funds. Some things to consider. Now, RV income streams. How will you fund your RV life? Do you already have money in savings? Are you going to work a remote job while you're on the road? Do you plan to start a side hustle or business of your own? Or you might call that self-employed, or one person gave me the idea employee to entrepreneur. Now, there are different types of income streams. It can be stationary versus mobile. So, the typical RVer, like back in the day, when you waited until you're like 50, 60, 70, maybe like 90 to start RVing, I'm being a little over exaggerating there, but back in the day, people would do what's called work camping. So, they would like go to an RV park and work and get to camp for free. And they work out a deal with the RV park themselves. So, there's stationary jobs and mobile jobs. The stationary ones are obviously location dependent, and they're typically long-term jobs that you can find on the road. So work camping is the one that I'm mentioning that you can usually do at an RV park, but there's also local jobs. Maybe you could be a bartender. I'm not even sure if I spell bartender right, but seasonal jobs, those are things that come up. So I've seen people do like harvesting jobs, or even like some of the big corporations will do their warehouses where they offer for you to come and live, and you can work while you're there. Like Amazon has done something before. And then mobile jobs which are location independent, allowing you to work and and travel is the other type of job that you can have. So not necessarily stationary, having to be in one place for a long period of time, you can actually travel. So if you're not going to work a local job or a seasonal job or be a work camper, you could do a travel job. So you might have people that already have jobs like this, such as a traveling nurse or contractors. Or you could maybe find something of your own, like an online job, a remote job, or some type of self-employment or self-employed job. So stationary versus mobile living. So if you're going to be sitting up in your RV for a while, 2 or 3 months, maybe you want to work at an RV park or find a local job and meet people locally. And then if you're going to be doing traveling a lot, or you want to travel a lot, then you're probably going to want to do more of a mobile job and find something that isn't as stationary, that you don't have to be there for a long period of time. Because if you want to travel and you're having to do things that are stationary, it's going to be a lot harder to do. So obviously you want to be mobile. Making money on the road. So these are ways that I've made money online, and not just one of these, but I've done all of these and so much more. So I've written a book, I've done online courses, I've done affiliate marketing, I've branded merchandise and sold like my own merchandise, or just branded merchandise with funny logans and quotes and slogans. You could do a Patreon account or start a YouTube channel. I've done that. Freelance your service and skills. People could hire you one-on-one, and you could maybe do like graphic design or edit videos or whatever your passion is. And then another thing I've done is private label products, or even if you do handmade products, people can sell those online. So that's something to consider. And then resell or retail arbitrage is one of the biggest things that really has made me a lot of money. So those are some of the ways that you can make money on the road, but there's tons of others. But when I'm talking about income streams, I want you to consider having multiple income streams, not just one stream of income. Why is this important? Well, if you have multiple income streams, if something happens to one of those income streams, like how we go into a crazy pandemic that nobody expects, if you only have one, then it goes away. But if you have multiple, then maybe one goes away, but then you have 2 or 3 that are still working for you. It's just kind of a law that maybe you should work on. So I believe in multiple income streams, and I believe in doing this in a certain way. So you build one income stream and make sure it's profitable and get it working right. And then you work on the second income stream. So it's not all about building multiple at one time. Otherwise, you'll probably crash and burn. But it's about building one income stream, doing it successfully, and then building on to that. And that's what I've done. So I've built several different ones. Some have been great, some haven't been great. I told you my first business was a horrible idea, and then it was a big fail. And then my second business, which was reselling, took off like a rocket, and then it led me to all my other ideas. So step 4 in trying to get your RV life on the road and get to full-time RVing, it's to mobilize your life. So obviously, if you're going to be on the road, you want to have a mobile life. So living in your sticks and bricks home is a little bit different than living in an RV. You want to go digital and start making your life mobile. What do you have to do to mobilize your life? Well, going digital and mobilizing your life will include things like changing your mailing address, so where you're going to get your mail. A lot of people, call this your domicile, and there are different ways to do this. So I've done this in many different ways. It depends if you're going to be moving constantly, if you're going to be living at an RV park, or if you're going to also have a home, or if you're selling your home, how you want to set this up. And then banking is another thing that you want to make sure that you set up, is your banking to be mobile. So cashing checks, taking money out of the bank can cause fees. Trying to get money into the bank can also be an issue if you don't have your mobile banking set up. And then insurance. I get a lot of questions about this. Having insurance and going to doctors and having medical emergencies on the road. I've dealt with all of it. I do have health insurance. I have visited doctors on the road, and I have been to the hospital on the road. It has all worked out fine. You just have to be prepared. And then, obviously, another thing you want to make mobile is your work, your job. So whether you work for someone else or whether you decide to do something for yourself, you want to make sure that it is mobile. And then you want to make sure that your documents are mobile. So scanning them online, having them at your fingertips on your phone. I use like a password storing service. So I have everything online backed up, both on my computer, on my phone, on not just my desktop computer, but online, so I can get to it from anywhere. So that's something that you want to start considering, getting things scanned in, what's important, things you might need on the road, and then your taxes. So that kind of goes back to your mailing address. Obviously, you're going to have to pick a place that you're going to call home, because when you file your taxes, you need to tell people where you're living, or if you're going to get some type of, you know, anything on the road for filing, you're going to need to file taxes. So driver's license is another thing why you're going to need your mailing address, and you're going to have some type of domicile set up while you're on the road. So mobilizing your life does take time, but I've done it. It's not that hard as long as you have the right steps in place. But just a couple things you have to do. So mobilizing your life is one thing, downsizing is another. So mobilize and downsize. Downsizing your things and adopting a minimalistic mindset. You need to think minimal, small, not a lot of stuff. Now, the keys to downsizing. So you want to remember that space is limited in an RV. Some things you will never use in an RV, or maybe you can't. You want to start with the necessities that you might actually need in your RV or need in your life or your work or your business, and build from there. And then you want to keep in mind, more stuff means more weight. So, more weight in RV life means more money. It means you have to pay more in fuel to actually move the RV around and move all your stuff around inside of it. So you really don't want to keep more stuff than you have to. Now, if you haven't used it in 3 to 6 months, I have a rule about letting it go. If you haven't seen it, touched it, used it, sniffed it, smelled it, looked at it, I don't know why you have it. If you're one of those people where you like to just keep everything forever, then you're going to have a problem trying to get into RV life. You need to start getting rid of that stuff. And you want to live seasonally. So maybe you say, okay, well, I'll keep my summer stuff in storage or at a family's house, or, in the bottom of the RV or something, and then just move things in and out as you need them. Or maybe you just buy seasonally. I've heard of this 333 law, or the law of 33, where you can wear 33 items for a season and then replace them with 33 more items for the next season, and so on and so on. So you can make money while you downsize. When I sold my house, I made money. When I sold my car, I didn't necessarily make money, but you could have made money. My clothes, I made money off of that, and then I had tons of things, and then I had also like business inventory and other stuff that I was selling, and if people gifted me stuff, I literally sold everything. My business was reselling, so I was just selling everything. And in the process, you want to keep in mind that there should be piles. You should have a keep pile, a sell pile, a donate pile, and a trash pile. So downsizing is a process. It's not something you just do overnight. Now, step number 6 to choosing the right RV is to determine which RV is right for your lifestyle and budget. So understanding the RV types and sizes. There are 2 basic types of RVs, and there's no way to go into all of them because for some random reason the manufacturers of RVs have made thousands and thousands and thousands of different types of RVs. So we're going to go into the basic kinds and what you need to know. So there's drivables and towables. Drivable RVs are often referred to as motorized units. They don't require an additional vehicle to operate, and these are all-in-one, like house and car. So think of a Class A motorhome like I have. A Class B is what's going to be like a van, and a Class C, ironically enough, should probably be in the middle, but it's at the end, is a little bit bigger than the Class B. But it's the ones that have that strange like overhang, that typical old school RV when you think RV. That is a Class C RV. And then your towables, they don't have their own motor. They have to be attached to an additional vehicle. So you have to tow them with another vehicle. So you have to have a vehicle that's able to tow them. So that's going to be things like your travel trailer, fifth wheeler, pop-ups, and then there's other types of RVs and things all in between. But the basic types of RVs are drivables and towables. That's really kind of where you need to decide, because if you're going to get a towable, then you're going to need a tow car, presumably, unless you're going to stay somewhere for a long period of time, then maybe you could get them to deliver it to an RV park or something like that. And then your RV lifestyle. So when you're trying to choose the right RV, you want to think about your RV lifestyle. Your RV lifestyle in terms of comfort and quality of living. I believe that this is my house on wheels, so I'm willing to pay a little bit more for my comfort and quality of living. I want space. I have had 3 dogs, but now we have 2 dogs running around the RV and 2 humans. Depending on if you have what you have in the RV, that's all going to make your RV lifestyle comfort and quality of living better, depending on what you choose. So maybe you have children, maybe you have pets, maybe you want to tow, maybe you don't want to tow. When I'm talking about quality of living, that could be having slide outs to give you more space. If you have children, maybe you want bunk beds. Your RV amenities and floor plans, there are tons of them. Every manufacturer, every style, they have so many RVs to choose from. That's why it's best to really dive in and go look at these RVs at the dealership. So my RV lifestyle. Now, I prefer to be hooked up, but I like the ability to boondock comfortably if needed for days or weeks at a time when traveling. So I have a dog. I used to have 3 in 1 RV and 2 adults. Like I mentioned, I have a dog, but Naveen has a dog. So we have 2 dogs in RV and 2 people. I don't like towing, so I load my smart car in my garage, and I bought my RV for this reason. I had my trailer actually stolen that I towed my smart car with, and I had so many issues with towing my smart car trailer that I just really hated towing. And then my first RV, my travel trailer, was in a really bad accident, so that left me hating towing. So, towing just wasn't my thing. Now, I wanted a home on wheels with plenty of space to work, hang out, even with the slides in. When the slide outs are in, and while I'm on the road, whether I'm stationary or plugged up, I just really wanted to be living in my RV, whether I could fully live in it or just partially live in it when it's not popped out. I wanted to be able to actually sit down at the table, lay on the bed, take a shower, use the toilet, whatever I need to do in my RV. So those are things to think about when you're thinking about your RV lifestyle and choosing the right RV for you. Now, I don't go off-road or out in deserted primitive areas on purpose. So I have been to deserted primitive areas, but it wasn't on purpose. But I do try to make sure that my RV is equipped. So like when I go on long journeys and I know that I'm going to be boondocking for days at a time or even a week at a time, I put water in the RV and I make sure that the batteries are charged up, and I make sure that we have plenty of fuel all the way along the way in case I need it. So that's my RV lifestyle and things that I think about. Now, my first RV, again, was a travel trailer. So I started out in a travel trailer. Then I decided to live the van life. And then I moved into a Class A motorhome. So I didn't just jump into a Class A motorhome. I lived in a bunch of different RVs before I ended up in this one. I've been doing this for 5 years now. What can you afford? Remember, travel trailer might only cost you $7 a day. A Class B van might only be $23 a day. And a Class A motorhome might only be $33 a day. But what can you afford? What is in your budget? Your RV living budget. Now, that's just not the cost of the RV, but all the things that come with it. So, like I mentioned, my RV living budget is different than maybe your RV living budget, but there's a lot of the things that you're going to still have the same. You still have to pay for an RV or have an RV payment and get into your RV just like I did. You still have to have RV insurance. It might be full-time or part-time. You still need fuel if you plan on moving the RV anywhere or using maybe your fuel to run your generator or cook or heat the RV, such as propane or gas or diesel, depending on how your RV is set up. And then you're going to have water, electric, sewer either on the road with you, or you're going to, and that could be solar power or something else. It depends on your RV and your setup, but water, electric, sewer could either be plugged up at the RV park, or when you're on the road, you might have to dump your tanks or get water, and you might have to pay a fee for that, either at an RV park or at like a truck stop or a service station. And then that costs money. They might charge you like $15 to dump your tank if you go to, somewhere like that to dump your tanks or get water at a truck stop or something, versus an RV park, you pay, you plug up, you do it, or you might just pay one off. And then cable and Wi-Fi is another expense, and these are the same expenses, same thing I broke down for you, service and maintenance and others. So this is about what I pay, but your RV living budget could be different than my RV living budget. Now, which RV is right for me? So, the best RV is going to fit your RV lifestyle, your comfort and quality of living, as well as your RV budget, the cost to buy and operate the RV. Now, you want to keep in mind your wants versus your needs. You're going to have so many wants when you walk into those RVs. You're going to say, I want that, I want that, I want that. But let's consider your wants versus your needs. If you need mobility and you need room to, I wanted room to be able to set up and work while I was traveling where I didn't have to take down everything. So I wanted a table that didn't have to fold down to a bed or a couch. I wanted a full bed so I could lay down in the RV while I was traveling that didn't necessarily fold up like a Murphy bed. So those are things that I cared about. And things that I really kind of needed when I was traveling, or if the RV was closed up and I couldn't move for a period of time, or boondocking, I wanted to be able to actually still work and move around in the RV just as if it was slid out. So my RV, you can pretty much do everything in it if the slide outs are in that you could do if the slide outs were out. And that was important to me. But I don't need solar panels. Some people say, oh, I want solar panels and I want to go boondocking. Well, I don't need that, so that's not something that I would care about having in my RV. But you might care about having it in yours. But also consider that if you buy an RV, you can always add to it and add certain things to it versus certain things that maybe you can't add to it. Solar panels are something that, like, my RV is set up for solar panels, so I could add solar panels. But, like, my Class B van wasn't always the best for boondocking because I couldn't put a whole lot of solar panels on it. But it did help keep, like, my one battery charged. But you really need a lot more batteries if you're going to be boondocking. So, different lifestyles, different budgets, different quality of living, wants versus needs. Now, step number 7 is obviously, I would say, the most important, but it's the last step in the process, which is actually buying an RV. So you see how much work goes into getting to the RV buying process and all the things that you need to think about before you ever even step foot in an RV dealership or think about buying an RV. So you want to learn how the RV buying process works. This is super, super important. So understand how the RV buying process works. So there's all kinds of ways to buy an RV, or things that go into buying an RV, should I say. So you can finance an RV or you can pay cash for an RV. There's a whole process to that. That might be a down payment. So if you're financing, you might have to put down a down payment in the RVing process. My RVs that I've had that were under $50,000, I didn't have to have a down payment. My RV that was under $100,000, I didn't have to have a down payment. But when my RV went over $100,000, they started requiring like a 10-20% down payment. And then I've had new and used RVs. I've had 3 new RVs and 1 used RV. So I've bought both used and new, and don't want to say I've had issues with both, but I've definitely had a lot more issues with my new RVs versus my used RV. So I advise against buying new RVs, and I would buy used. But then there's a lot of things you have to look out for if you're buying used. So that comes into play, and why you really need to understand the RV buying process. And then you have to think about the fair market value, or the value of your RV. Whether you're buying or selling an RV, you need to know the value of the RV. If they're selling it to you, you need to kind of think like what they paid for it, what they're trying to sell it to you for, and then all the fees that come along with it, and vice versa. If you're the buyer or the seller of an RV, you kind of have to think about the fair market value and who's involved. And one of the things I kind of learned is when you go to big dealerships, they're really in love. I mean, they're not really in love with the prices, but smaller dealerships, they are, because they're really attached to what they paid for that RV. Big dealerships are just trying to turn and burn, so they may not care as much about the fair market value of the RV. And they might be willing to wiggle on the prices. But just things to think about. So much goes into the RV buying process. And then people talk about, like, can you buy an RV with good credit versus bad credit? Typically, RVs are luxury items. Most people think you can only buy an RV if you have good credit. But let's be real, RVs are homes and cars, and they finance them like a car. And if you get the right RV for your lifestyle and your budget, then you could potentially buy an RV with bad credit. But there's a lot of things that you can do if you have bad credit to get your credit to good standing, and things that I can help you with, or things that I've definitely done. So, Q&A here in the end. But warranty options is another thing that you have to think about in the RV buying process. Whether you're buying used or new, you can buy an RV warranty. I have a warranty on my RV. I've had a warranty on every RV I've ever owned. My new ones automatically come with it. A used one was a big Class A motorhome. I was worried about if I had to replace anything major, so I purchased a warranty on my RV. And then RV insurance, you have to have RV insurance, but you might only need part-time versus full-time. And then they have different coverages depending on how you're going to be using your RV. Whether some states don't even require certain types of RV insurance if you're towing RVs. And then it just depends. So RV insurance can be a whole another ballgame depending on what type of RVing you're doing and what type of RV you have, where you're RVing. All of those things play a role. So the biggest thing that you can do is research. Understanding how this whole RVing process works is different for every RV dealership, but overall it is the same. So whether you're buying from a dealership, buying from a private party, the process is the same for, paying cash or financing, having to put down a down payment. That all goes through the bank. It's not really the dealership that makes that call on it. So you want to do your research, have your ducks in a row before you ever go into these RV dealerships. You want to know more than they know. Having a PDI or pre-delivery inspection checklist is something that you're going to hear in the RV industry, and the RV dealership will have one of these, but you're going to want to have one of your own, and every RV dealership has a different one of what they look over before they hand you the RV, and then you want to look over it and make sure it's all good and perfect before you actually, dip out in this RV, or they might give you like 30 days to come back to them. So like when I bought my motorhome, they let me stay overnight at the RV dealership and told me, let's get all these things fixed before you leave. And then once I left, if I tried to come back after the 30 days, there were certain things they would fix. And then after 30 days, there was things they wouldn't fix. So it just depends on the RV dealership themselves. But you want to do a pre-delivery inspection and go through and say, like, this is working, this isn't working, new or used. And then that could be, the delivery inspection can be pre-delivery and, post-delivery. So when they actually deliver the RV to you, they're going to do an RV orientation, or they should do an RV orientation. They'll do like a walkthrough, walk you through the RV and show you everything that's going, how to use the RV. I'm not going to say they will walk you through and show you all this. They're going to give you a quick rundown. They're going to go through the inside of the RV and kind of walk you through, and the outside of the RV, and just explain like what all the gadgets are, where all the faucets are, and just kind of send you on your way. So here are the steps you need to take to make your full-time RVing living dream possible. Step 1 is to set your RV lifestyle goals. Step 2 is to calculate the cost. Step 3 is to find the funds. Step 4 is to mobilize your life. Step 5 is to downsize. Step 6 is to choose the right RV. And step 7 is to actually buy an RV. So this is not theory. Until now, I've only shared this system one-on-one with clients. I've tested this entire system and proven its result even with my own RV life. At this point, I know I can make a greater impact by sharing it with more people, which is why I no longer work one-on-one with clients. This method is time-tested and proven, and to this day, I'm using these methods and systems in my own business and RV life. In fact, I use these strategies for this webinar you're in right now. If you're thinking, I'm ready, where do I start? All you have to do is commit, focus, and take action, which you've already done by taking the time to be in this masterclass today. So I just gave you my full-time RV living blueprint. But as you can imagine, this is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to getting started RVing, multiplying your income, and mobilizing your life. So you have two options. You can do this yourself, or you can do option number 2, which is a proven path to success. Jumped along that, but do it yourself, proven path to success, step 1 or step 2, or door 1 or door 2. So if you're smart and you decide to work with me, then nothing is held back. No missing steps. Just need to follow my lead step by step. I'm on a mission to accelerate your growth, to remove the headaches and bad advice I was given by the gurus, or should I say the RV gurus, and give you the exact process to follow to truly build a life and business on your own terms. And that is what my full-time RV life formula includes. I have taken the entire process from start to finish, addressing your fears about RV life, setting your RV lifestyle goals, creating your RVing budget, discovering ways to save money and generate income to fund your mobile life, mobilizing and downsizing your life, choosing the right RV for your lifestyle and budget, understanding how the RV buying process works, and buying an RV without getting ripped off. And I've put all of this into this program. Why? Well, the biggest issue I see with the RVing space is there is not enough information out there. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want of random RVers, each of them teaching an aspect of the entire puzzle of RVing. But watching one random video after another doesn't matter if you don't know how to actually pull all the pieces together. Buying an RV without a plan and then trying to figure it out after the fact is a great way to lose your newfound freedom. I want you to have the best possible launch pad for a successful RV life and business, because I've been through it. I'm coming at this with years of experience, experimenting and finding the things that actually work long term versus short term. A proven pandemic plan. So the better the fit, the better the results. I'm building a legacy business. I don't want just any client. I want the right clients. Want in? Here's how the process works. Who's this for? People who are tired of their stationary sticks and bricks lifestyle and want to live on the open road. You know you don't want to wait until you retire to enjoy the fruits of your labor and understand tomorrow is never promised. People who want to escape the rat race, not work a normal 9-to-5 job, and want to go from employee to self-employed. You know investing and having skin in the game is the only way to make an actual change in your life, not stay stuck in the same position. People who are action takers and actually going to implement the information. If this sounds like you, you're invited to apply and see if you qualify for my full-time RV Life Formula program. I've set aside time over the next 3 days to talk to you and see if I can help. This call is approximately 30 minutes long, and the intention is going to be to understand your business and life goals. Based on the information we talk about, I'll identify how and if we are a fit to work together inside my full-time RV Life Formula program. So here's where you can apply. You can head over to RVersity.com/join, and I'm going to drop this here in the chat in just a second. There's a lot of people who have inquired about this masterclass, and I only have the ability to handle 7 calls a day. So please apply now. You can head over to RVersity.com/join to apply for a call. Here's what I know to be true, and what I would not be where I am today without investing in working with other people who were where I wanted to be. So where do you want to be in 1 year from now? You can apply now at RVersity.com/join, and it's time for questions. So let's dive in to this and see if we have any questions in here. So let me hop over to our screen. I'm back on here, and I just want to see if I can do a quickity refresh on my screen to see if I can talk to you. Okie dokie. So I'm going to draw back over here. I did want to pop this link in here so that you can schedule a call. So you can see it says the RVersity join, and actually I'm going to show you this real quick while I'm thinking about it. So if I go back on to this video screen, not that screen, my video screen. If we hop back over here, I do want to show you this really quick. So if you go to the screen RVersity join that I'm talking about, it'll lead you to my full-time RV life formula that and you can book a call. So here's where you're going to go. You're just going to book a call on here, and you can schedule a time to chat and pick a time that works best for you. So that's what it's going to take you to, this RVersity /join, and you can get to that from my website, but this is the actual link that you want to use. So let me hop back off of here before we have any kind of weird technical difficulties. So let me put me on here and turn my screen off, and hopefully see if you can see me. It's a little different when you're doing this all from one laptop, just so you know. Okay, so we are on here live still. So I wanted to run through here, see who's on here, and if there was any questions on here. There's going to be a replay. So first off, I do want to tell everybody thank you so much for joining me live on here and being here through all of the technical difficulties and all of the fun stuff. And just, you know, I love to answer your questions. I know that we are kind of pressed for time, but if you're on the replay, make sure to hit replay or say replay, type replay on here so I know. And obviously the best way to answer your questions one-on-one and talk to you is to book a call. So that's the whole point, is to make sure that I'm in a position to be able to help you or not. And it's kind of weird. I'm like talking to you on the camera, but I'm looking at the screen and I'm reading your comments. So I normally don't do this live, so thanks for bearing with me on this. But yeah, you too nosy, thanks for joining. So excited that you were here. Or CJ, I know that's you. I'm glad that y'all are able to actually see everything on here, and if not, you definitely have the replay, and we can book a call and we can chat about some of the other specifics and like what you're really trying to get into in the RV life. Yes, it's full screen. Good. Yes, I can hear you. The Hizay. That's right, CJ, the Hizay. Clifford was on here. Foodie Bear, Nicole, Paula. I'm so glad that everybody joined. I didn't get to announce this as much as I wanted, and I know we kind of did this after a holiday weekend, so I was kind of worried about making that last minute announcement. I didn't really think about that when I planned this last week or the week before and I made the date. But I did think, okay, well, if everybody's coming back from a holiday, at least they'll have time to join if we do this later in the evening versus during the day when people are at work or working remotely, however things are going right now. I see your screen. Hilarious. Home-cooked meals. Home-cooked meals. That's right. I like home-cooked meals when I can get them, or at least take them with me on the road. And Lori, you're welcome. I'm happy to go over this. I'm super excited to share this. A little bit nervous about sharing this because I've never really shared this all in one on my RVersity channel or really any of my content or publicly, to be honest. So you're getting to hear a lot of my story that I've never really shared with anyone. What else is in here? I think she said I'll be ready to replay. Hilarious income, home cooked meals. Thanks for going over this. And before I forget, if anybody joined this last minute, I know I'm reading through some of the chat questions right now, but make sure that you check the link that I put in the chat, the RVersity.com/join. You can also go to RVersity.com/join to book a call. And also, it should be in the description underneath this video once I kind of log off of here, because this should still stay up on YouTube. But if you've signed up for the live stream, click on my email list. I'll post this again to those people. I think it should be ready to replay. What about income? Yes, we talked about income and price in here a little bit, and what I want to go over more, which is obviously what we're going to go over in the full-time RV life formula. There's a lot to go over in one 45-minute session, and actually I plan on this being 45 minutes, and it's actually over an hour now. So there's so much to go over. Jasmine, I think that's you. Moonshine Lun, that I would really love to talk to you. So if you would hop on my calendar and book a call, I'd really love to talk to you about like what you're trying to get into, what kind of income streams you're trying to make, or like what you currently are doing, and we can kind of go from there on planning out like your RV life, your budget, and getting you into the perfect RV life for yourself. And Jasmine, I think I've followed up with you a couple of times, so it's more of a waste of time to go back and forth on like videos and emails and chats than it is for me to hop on a call with someone and really understand like where they're coming from. Because honestly, I don't want people to join this course that I'm doing at RVersity, the full-time RV life formula, if you're not going to actually do it, if you're not going to take action, if you're not going to go through these steps, because it doesn't help me. If I can't show that you actually made progress and achievement and results, it doesn't help me. So if you think about some of the things that I'm talking about kind of in this whole RVing thing, like I've lost thousands of dollars on an RV purchase, tens of thousands of dollars on many of these things. I've missed out on so many opportunities that I could have had I known the information that I was given, or even half of the stuff that we talked about today. I didn't know to plan my RV life budget. I didn't know what to plan for in my RV life budget. I had no idea about what types of RVs there were. I literally walked onto an RV lot and I thought that that's what they had. I didn't realize that every RV dealership has different RVs, and it depends on the location of what they're even allowed to carry, or maybe what they got in. And when I went to sell my RV, I had no idea that it really depended on where I sold it. Not necessarily who I sold it to, but where I was selling it. There was a lot that went into RVing, my RV purchase, getting into my RV lifestyle, and I went from, like I said, travel trailers to van life to living in a motorhome. They're all different. It's different in how you live, in price, and all of that fun stuff. But that's why I want to have this course, have you hop on a call with me and see if the course is even something for you. This program is definitely designed to walk you step by step through the process of actually getting over your fears about RV living, to setting your goals, to mobilizing your life, downsizing your life, literally walking you through the process step by step. So if someone would have paid me, if I could have paid someone for this information, it would have been golden. It would have saved me like $5,000, $10,000, probably like honestly $20,000 if someone would have told me this information beforehand. But I didn't know how to make income on the road, or that you could do some of this stuff on the road, or buying the right RV, or all this great stuff that we're talking about. But Jasmine, definitely hop on a call with me. I'd love to chat with you and see where things are at with you. And I know I've seen some other stuff come up here. I was trying to read through some of your comments on my screen. It's kind of a lot going on. Is this affordable? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, this is affordable. I am doing this as a course. So, like I said, I used to work one-on-one with clients. Okay, one-on-one. People would pay me by the hour, $100 an hour to talk to me one-on-one every single week. And it got so exhausting of me repeating the same information to people over and over and over, which is kind of why I started making YouTube videos. Then I started just figuring out that making YouTube videos doesn't always answer the questions. So it's better to have a full formula. I can make one YouTube video and keep your attention for like 7 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe an hour like this webinar. Or I can put you in a program and help you walk through the process step by step and get you somewhere a lot faster and give you all of the steps that you need to take, not just one step, one step, one step, one step. It just doesn't work that way. So we're doing this as a class, and yeah, the doors open on this doors close on this October 2nd, doors open October 15th, so we're going through this whole process. I'm getting a whole class of people together. Normally I do this one-on-one, but we're going to do this as a big group. We're going to go through this process together and buy an RV. Or go through the process of buying an RV, get you down to your budget, help you downsize, mobilize, and go through all of these steps. So, yeah. I love to talk to people on the phone. I hate that social media and YouTube makes it where I can only be like on the other side of the video. So I want to talk to you on the phone. I want to hear what you have going on, and I want to really help you dive into that. So I know that there's going to be tons of questions on here. I don't know if these questions will be here when I end this live stream. I think they are, but make sure that you chime in on either the live stream or the comments in the description below this video. And of course, you can schedule a call with me, like I said, RVersity.com/join, and that will allow you to hop on my calendar and we can chat. So I am so excited that we have dived into this today and that I finally got to share this with you. I've been working on this for a minute in the middle of this pandemic, Jasmine. So yeah, I've been doing this in the middle of a pandemic, and if you didn't catch the front of the live stream where I talked about my income streams and the money that I've been making and been able to make over the years, as well as like this year, and been able to live in my RV life, I want to do the same for you. So I want to show you how to make money, how to get on the road, how to get your RV life saved up for, funded, budgeted, all of the good stuff, and buy the right RV. So if you're on the replay, make sure to hit replay. I want to see you on my calendar, so make sure to hop on my calendar. I know that some people are kind of watching this at different times, but I am super excited about this, and I can't wait for the course to kind of get started. I'm excited that I've announced this finally. Nervous and excited. But thanks for joining, everybody. I'm going to hop off of here. If you have comments, like I said, you can drop them in the chat, but either the description. And yeah, so I'll see you on my calendar here soon, and we'll get you started on your RV life. So I'm going to hop off of here. Happy Tuesday night it is tonight, and happy RVing, and I hope to see you. I have an available spot next to me here, so hopefully you'll be in it soon. So bye, have a good evening, book a call on my calendar, and hopefully I will be talking to you tomorrow or the next day, but we'll be talking later this week. So thanks for joining, and I'll see y'all next time. I'm Blogging Brandy signing off here from RVersity. Head over to RVersity.com/join, and we will talk later. So bye, y'all. Have a good night.